Hello, and welcome to CBT Nuggets Exam Pack 70-662 Microsoft Exchange Server 2010 Configuring. I'm Greg Shields. Over the next series of Nuggets, we're going to spend some time looking at the different configuration tasks that you need to be successful with implementing, managing, and maintaining an Exchange Server 2010 organization. In these next 20 Nuggets, we're going to step through all the pieces you need to build an Exchange Server 2010 organization all the way from bare metal. Starting with the implementation of Exchange Server and the installation, continuing through all the different roles, mailbox server roles, client access server roles, hub transport and edge transport server roles, and then concluding with some of the high availability, resiliency, and management tasks that you need to be successful. Along the way, we'll spend some time focusing on those skills that are specifically requested for that exam 70-662. In this nugget, we're going to spend some time, as I said, working through Exchange. And Exchange today is really that powerfully scalable mail platform. If you've spent any time with Exchange over the years, even back in the mid-90s with the first release of Exchange 4.0, you've probably seen how Exchange has evolved over the years. Starting as a completely separate application that provided some simple mail capabilities for your organization, Exchange has over the years integrated fully with your Active Directory infrastructure. And with Exchange Server 2010, you'll be happy to know that that integration with Active Directory is now fully complete. Compared to previous versions, you'll find that your Active Directory infrastructure has a lot to do with your Exchange Server infrastructure. So if you have a history with Exchange and you've experienced Exchange in the previous versions, you'll learn in this series about how you can convert that knowledge into what you need to know with Exchange Server 2010. Now, what are we going to talk about in this particular nugget? Nugget number 1 of this series. We're going to talk about specifically the prerequisites that you need to have really to be successful with this series. I'm going to assume a certain level of experience and understanding as we go through these next 20 nuggets. We're also going to talk about the series outline and the 20 different nuggets and how we're going to go through building that Exchange infrastructure all the way from start to finish. To build that infrastructure, you'll be seeing a lot of demonstration. If you'd like to follow along and build your own infrastructure at the same time, I'm going to show you the network, our CBT Nuggets network, that we're eventually going to be creating over this series of nuggets. I'm also going to show you some of the exam statistics and the audience profile for that exam, so you can determine whether or not you're ready to actually take that exam, as well as some of the skills that are actually measured by the exam, so you can align your studying to what the exam is really looking for you to do. And throughout this entire series, I want to intersperse in a little bit of my own personal experience and some best practices that I've learned over the years in managing Exchange organizations. But let's start with you. What are those prerequisites that you should be comfortable with in order to be successful with this training series? They're really not that bad. If you're relatively new to information technology and new to the Windows operating system, a basic understanding of the Windows operating system will get you through this series. Also, a basic knowledge of some of the messaging topics and technologies will also assist in helping you translate the basic core knowledge of messaging into the configuring tactics that you need to know to be successful with Exchange. I'm also going to assume a basic knowledge of networking and some storage topics as well. If you understand where you should put storage and how you should connect up your networks, you'll do well with these basic knowledge requirements. It also helps to have a little bit of familiarity with the Exchange Server product itself. Even if you've never seen Exchange 2010, having a little bit of familiarity with even some of the previous versions of Exchange, particularly Exchange 2007, will assist with really spinning you up fast on this new technology. And finally, and obviously, a desire to learn. This series is a fairly long series, and so we're going to be spending a lot of time digging deep into those Exchange configuration tasks. And at the end, you're going to become a smarter, more valued member of your IT team. So having that desire to learn really helps with this learning series. The other thing we want to talk about here is the outline for this series. Now, as I said before, there are 20 individual videos in this series that we like to call nuggets. And each individual nugget is designed to encapsulate a particular piece of information that you need to know. I've tried very hard to align this information to how you would normally go about creating your own Exchange infrastructure, and also how you would go about studying for that critical exam. You'll see here we start with an understanding of the Exchange roles and components. We move into installing your first Exchange server and all of the interesting prerequisites that you may not have been aware of that are required to install Exchange. We then move into the mailbox server role, where we talk about databases and mailboxes and public folders, and eventually some of the other resource items such as addresses, folders, groups, and contacts. All of these recipient objects are necessary for you to be successful with Exchange. Once you understand what the mailbox server is, and really the mailbox server is in some ways the central part of Exchange, then we have to focus on actually getting your clients to those mailbox servers. Now those clients can be Outlook, they can be Outlook web app, they can be POP or IMAP clients, they can be Active Sync clients, or even Outlook Anywhere clients. And we'll talk about the things that you need to configure to successfully get those clients connected in to your Exchange organization. From there, we need to move into the Hub Transport role. The Hub Transport role in Exchange 2010 has a significant role to play, in that all of the messages, even messages that are going from the same mailbox database to the other same mailbox database, are going to go through that Hub Transport role. Exchange and Microsoft has specifically required this Hub Transport role to process all forms of mail, no matter where they're going, because this provides a mechanism for you to apply transport rules and policies, email policies associated with that mail. Because all mail is going through Hub Transport, you can be assured that your policies are getting applied at that Hub Transport role. In these two videos, we'll talk about message transport and connectors to outside domains, as well as accepted and remote domains. We'll talk about email address policies, transport rules, and even journal rules. Some of these advanced topics that are necessary because of today's modern requirements associated with regulatory compliance. From there, obviously, we want to get mail to other people outside of our organization and on the internet. And Microsoft's solution for doing that is the Edge Transport role. We'll spend 2 nuggets talking about installing and configuring that Edge Transport role, and then using the Edge Transport role as your bridgehead to filter messages and to provide a single location where anti-spam rules can be applied. The Edge Transport role has an important role to play because of all the amazing amount of unrequested mail, all that spam that's out there on the internet. And the Edge Transport role provides that capability to filter out that mail before it gets into your internal organization, reducing the performance requirements of that internal organization. Now, sometimes you may want to actually share some of the information in your organization with other organizations. And a new feature in Exchange 2010 that you may want to take a look at is federated sharing. Federated sharing provides a way for you to connect with other organizations using a technology called federation and Microsoft's Federation Gateway. And we'll talk about implementing federated sharing in Nugget number 12. From there, we move into some of the more management activities associated with your Exchange organization. Nugget 13 talks about the new role-based access control system in Exchange. You'll find that role-based access control can be somewhat challenging, and I've brought together a very interesting demo to show you how all the different pieces for role-based access control link together. From there, we're going to talk about backup and data recovery and the important things that you need to be aware of associated with backing up your very important data. High availability is an important topic too these days, ensuring that your services never go down because you've provided redundant services all across the entire thread of the service. In these 2 nuggets, we're going to talk about database availability groups, which is a significant improvement in Exchange 2010, and a singular reason why it makes sense these days to upgrade to Exchange 2010 as soon as possible. High availability isn't just in mailbox servers, it's also in public folders and non-mailbox servers as well. And we'll talk about that in Nugget 16. From there, we want to talk about some of the monitoring and reporting capabilities, as well as how you can connect to Exchange from the outside world. Here, we're not necessarily talking about getting mail to the outside world, but getting your individual clients, whether they be laptops or mobile devices, connected to your Exchange organization from points on the internet. We'll conclude with 2 topics. One on migrating from previous Exchange versions, because it's probably likely that you don't have to build an Exchange organization from scratch. Some of us do, but a lot of us will be upgrading our Exchange organization from a previous version. And then finally, some tips and tactics for managing Exchange 2010 with Windows PowerShell. If you're not aware, Exchange's management solutions are built atop Windows PowerShell. So understanding Exchange and managing Exchange means managing with Windows PowerShell. To build this Exchange organization, we're going to be using this CBTN network. We'll be creating portions of this and then referring to other portions of this throughout the series. In this series, we're going to create a client access server. We're going to create a hub transport server. We're going to create a couple of mailbox servers, and we're also going to create an edge transport server here so you can see the entire end-to-end stack that's required to create an Exchange organization. We're also going to talk about how you can expand that Exchange organization from one site to a second site here. We'll be talking about the Denver site and the Las Vegas site throughout this series. Also, we want to talk a little bit about the exam itself. The 70-662 exam is a Microsoft Certified Technology Specialist exam, and passing it earns you the MCTS certification for this particular technology. This exam is the first exam in the MCITP, or the Microsoft Certified IT Professional for Enterprise Messaging Administrator 2010. To get the MCITP, you need to take 2 tests. One, this MCTS, which you're already starting today. And 2 is the 70-663 Pro exam called Designing and Deploying Messaging Solutions with Microsoft Exchange Server 2010. Now, Microsoft keeps careful control over many of the statistics associated with the exam, but you can be assured that this exam is a single test. If you're in the United States, it's going to cost you about $125, and it is administered by Prometric. Now, from Microsoft's website, Microsoft does not identify the format in which exams are presented. But you can kind of be assured that generally you're going to have a reasonable amount of multiple choice questions for this exam, just based off Microsoft's history with these exams. So prepare for that multiple choice exam experience. Now, Microsoft also provides, and I've copied this directly off of their website, Microsoft also provides a suggested audience profile for this exam. They say that the typical candidate is a messaging generalist, responsible for the maintenance and administration of Exchange servers in an enterprise environment. Essentially, if you've been working with Exchange on a day-to-day basis, you've installed it, you've managed users and mailboxes and other recipient objects, you've probably got a good leg up and a good start in actually taking this exam. The candidate also may also monitor and troubleshoot Exchange Server 2010 as well. So be aware of what this audience profile is, because it will give you some idea of the things that you need to prepare for when you're preparing for that exam. Now, in addition to this, Microsoft also provides a list of the skills that are measured when you're taking that exam. And in all my years of actually looking through exams and analyzing Microsoft's exams, this is the first one I've seen where the individual skills are so equally matched. You'll see here that pretty much all of the skills that are measured for this Microsoft exam are weighted roughly equally with the other skills that are out there. You're going to need to know how to to install and configure an Exchange server. You're going to need to know how to configure recipients in public folders, client access, message transport. You're going to have to know some of those monitoring and reporting tools and how to use them as well. You're going to need to know how to implement high availability and recovery, and also how to configure message compliance and security. Microsoft's exams tend to test on the technologies that Microsoft is interested in you being aware of. So be conscious of that when you're preparing for that exam. And also, take a look at some more details which are found at this website here on Microsoft.com. This will give you more details associated with this exam. Now, to work with this exam, we have a full Exchange organization that I've built, and you're going to build with me. This is the Exchange Management Console, and it gives us a little bit of management flexibility and management capability for working with that Exchange organization. You'll see here that we'll actually work with some demos, seeing the properties and choosing the correct configurations for making that Exchange organization work properly. You'll see plenty enough of this Exchange Management Console and also the Exchange Management Shell in the Nuggets coming up. So once again, welcome to CBT Nuggets Exam Pack 70-662. My name is Greg Shields, and I look forward to working with you over this next series of Nuggets to help enlighten you on Microsoft Exchange and prepare you for that exam. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.